if you're feeling depleted and your energy's drained, you don't have anything to give. So I think that prioritizing your peace is all about getting to that place of fulfillment where you feel full and like you have abundance inside of you that you can then like share to other people. Hello guys, how are you? I hope that everyone's doing well. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel. My name is Cameron. Today I want to do like a little chit chat video about prioritizing your peace, being selfish, putting yourself first, and trying not to feel guilty for doing so. I honestly feel like prioritizing your peace, prioritizing yourself, putting yourself first is so important in life, and it can help fulfill your relationships with people around you and just make you feel more whole, I think. I feel like I've spent the entirety of last year of 2022 sort of prioritizing myself, putting my own needs first, and yeah, just like filling up my own cup, I suppose. And I feel like through doing so, I've realized how important that is. And I feel like this year I've been like stepping into more connections and more relationships with people. And I've definitely noticed how effective that time, spending time with myself and prioritizing myself, being selfish, how much that has like filled me up and like fueled me in a way. So yeah, I just wanted to chat with you guys about that. So let's get into the video. I feel like the term like prioritizing your peace is a very like overused term in that, like, you know, you see it on like Pinterest and Instagram, these little quotes just like prioritize your peace. But I feel like that can be a very vague statement, just like, oh, just prioritize your peace. Like, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? I feel like there's a lot to unpack in that one sentence, like prioritize your peace. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And can look different for different people. And like, why is it important? In moments I've definitely felt guilty for being selfish. I think that selfish is definitely like something that's seen as like a negative term in our world, when I don't think that it is. I think it's a positive thing. I definitely think that it looks different for everybody. Prioritizing your peace looks different for everybody, and I don't think that there's one blueprint that everyone should follow, like this is how you prioritize your peace, because everyone has different needs at the end of the day. Like what one person needs might be damaging for another person, you know what I mean? I think that definitely one thing like underlying this whole thing of like prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your peace, and not feeling guilty about it is just understanding that we are all like inherently worthy of love, of peacefulness, of like a calm life. And I feel like we get tricked into thinking otherwise sometimes. I feel like I've definitely felt that way and felt like, I don't know, it's like through different ways that you're brought up, through different things that you experience, these patterns get ingrained in you, and sometimes they might trick you into thinking that maybe you're not worthy of peace, maybe you're not worthy of calm, maybe you're not worthy of these things. And it's like it's just like taking a step back and zooming out and realizing that like we're all worthy of peace and calm and like being full in ourselves. So I think that's definitely a really important thing to remember. I feel like it's important to ask yourself, like, what do I need right now? And that in itself is not like a very straightforward question to ask sometimes, especially if you're not like practicing being in touch with your emotions and your feelings. So I think that it's worthwhile in moments just to practice asking yourself, like, what do I need right now? And sort of like entering a bit of a healthy spiral, I guess, a bit of an inward spiral, and really, really like interrogating your feelings and asking yourself, like, what's going to make me feel good in this moment? What's going to make me feel fulfilled? Like, what's going to make me feel empty? What's going to drain me? Also, I think it's really important to recognize and like check in with yourself how you feel after you spend time with somebody, or after you go to a certain place, do a certain activity. Just always be asking yourself, like, how did that make me feel? Sometimes you might be like, oh, that actually didn't make me feel good. Like, I don't feel fulfilled after that. And maybe that's something you need to remove from your life in this chapter that you're in. And I feel like that's a lot about setting boundaries, and being able to say no, I think is really important, and also something that I'm trying to work more on. I think it's hard if you are a people pleaser, if you feel like sort of like your worth sometimes comes from how you make other people feel. Yeah, I definitely think that it can be difficult to prioritize your peace when you're a people pleaser, or when you look for like external validation to make you feel good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes we seek external things to make us feel good inwards, which is like a slippery slope, because once we start just relying on external things to alter how we feel internally, you're fighting a losing battle, because you can't control the external factors. You know, being aware of your needs and then acting on that is a really important step, I think, to being able to prioritize your peace and being able to have those boundaries, not only with other people, but also with yourself. For me, prioritizing my peace looks like having non-negotiables in my day where I carve out moments of like peace and quiet for myself, because I know that makes me feel good, and I know that if I don't do that, I feel significantly less good. And so I feel like I've learned what makes me feel good, and then I've learned to incorporate those things in my day-to-day life in like a way that's like non-negotiable. Like, I'm not going to not do this because this is what makes me feel good. Things like journaling, just like self-reflection in general. And it's not always through journaling. Sometimes I'll just talk to myself, maybe like do a voice note. Sometimes I'll type on my computer how I feel. Just like this constant like emotional check-in, I think, is really important for me and helps me feel really level-headed. Otherwise, if I don't understand what I'm feeling, I can start to feel really overwhelmed and panicked, I think, because I feel a lot and I process a lot. And if I'm not aware of what I'm feeling, it can just feel like a lot and really overwhelming and really like panicky. So I think, like, for me, that's a non-negotiable. Another non-negotiable for me is like spending time outdoors. For me, that looks like in my work day when I work in an office, and each day for my lunch break I need to get outside. Like, it's a non-negotiable for me. I need to take a walk or like just get outside in some capacity, because that makes me feel good, and that to me is prioritizing my peace. And all of these little things like add up and make me feel more fulfilled at the end of the day. And yeah, when I'm in that place of fulfillment, when I feel like my cup is full, I then feel like I'm in so much more of a better place to give to other people and to like be there for people in the relationships that I have with people. If you're feeling depleted and your energy's drained, you don't have anything to give, you know? So I think that prioritizing your peace is all about getting to that place of fulfillment where you feel full and like you have abundance inside of you that you can then like share to other people. I think that a way you could start with like prioritizing your peace and like putting yourself first, like I said before, like checking in with yourself and noticing how you feel after you interact with people, interact with certain places is definitely really important. But also, once you recognize your needs and once you sort of know what you think would make you feel good, like try those things out. And maybe you want to try like one thing a day for a week. Let's say journaling. Let's go with the journaling example. Let's try and implement that habit and say, okay, I'm going to journal for 10 minutes every day this week and see how that makes me feel. It's like an experiment, and then evaluate at the end of the week. Like, how did that make me feel? Did I feel more fulfilled? Did it affect me positively? Did it not really help? Like, maybe it's not a necessary tool for you in your life. That's okay. And then you can try something else maybe. And I think it's also good to like recognize certain areas in your life that you want to bring more peace and fulfillment into. Like, maybe it is your emotional well-being, maybe it is your physical well-being, maybe it is your spiritual well-being, maybe it's just like your environment, your space. I feel like everything can seem like a less overwhelming task if you like break it down and kind of like compartmentalize it, at least for me anyway. So if you can break it down into like, okay, I want to work on my emotional health, my emotional well-being, my mental health, then you can be like, okay, what are some activities, some tasks that I can do to bring more peace into that area of my life? Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's going out for a walk and listening to a podcast, maybe it's, there's all these different things that we can do. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's meditating, maybe it is just being outside and just like implementing that one thing into your day-to-day life every day for like a week, and then evaluating how you feel afterwards. If it's something that had a positive effect on your life, then you can add something else on top of that and like habit stack. So you can create one habit and then stack something else on top of that. Let's say that you're going for a walk every morning and you've done it for a week and you feel like it's really positively impacting your well-being. And then you can be like, okay, I'm going to go for a walk and then I'm going to journal or read 10 pages afterwards. And then you go for your walk, you do that, and then you do the next thing. So you've like stacked this other thing on top of the first habit like a week later. I feel like stacking things like that and like trying things one by one is just so much easier and less overwhelming than trying to do everything at once, because we just can't do everything at once. Like, it's impossible. But like once you start to gain that momentum, like all different areas of your life just feel more elevated and you just feel more overall satisfied. So yeah, definitely that's a really good way, I think, to tackle prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your needs. Like, recognize your needs first, recognize what you think might make you feel good, and then act on that and create these habits and stack these habits bit by bit. It's a process. Definitely a process. Everything's a process. I also think that prioritizing yourself is really important because it can help you, I think it helps you feel more just like grounded in yourself. Well, for me personally, like I feel like I'm in a really nice place at the moment of like understanding myself. And I feel like for maybe like the first time in my life, I feel really like grounded in who I am and like rooted in myself. And I feel like I find myself in situations at the moment that maybe would have like triggered me or like led me to like a lot of reactivity like in my past, but I feel like now I'm in a place where I feel like more calm in situations. I feel like less reactive and just like more calm, like. And I think that prioritizing myself and prioritizing my peace and understanding my needs is what has got me here. I think that when we talk about like being selfish, putting yourself first, it's so important to think about that the sort of like negative feelings that we can feel as a result of doing so. Like I was saying at the start, it's like we've been tricked into thinking that putting ourselves first is this like negative thing that we shouldn't do. Like when you actually think about it, that actually makes no logical sense, because what are we meant to do? We're meant to put everyone's needs before ours. Like that doesn't make sense. We should put our own needs first. Once we put our own needs first, we can then be in a place to accommodate other people's needs. But first comes ourselves always. I've definitely seen it show up in my life, how having boundaries and being selfish can be seen as you're coming off as like rude almost, or like inconsiderate. I remember an example in, I think it was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I was living in a share house with friends, and I had said that I was going to go to this person's birthday party. Me and my housemate were going to go to the party. We were going to go together. She was like getting ready. I was in uni at the time, and I remember I had an assignment, a deadline that I had to get done, and it was stressing me out, and I hadn't done it yet. I thought that I was going to be finished it, but I wasn't. So I hadn't finished my assignment, and I had agreed to go to this party, and my friend was like, oh, like, are you coming? Because I clearly wasn't getting ready. I think I was in the kitchen, like, cooking or something. And I was like, I don't think that I can go. Like, I don't think I'm going to go anymore. I need to do my assignment. My friend looked at me, and she said, you have to show up for other people. And I said to her, I was like, I need to show up for myself. And that in that moment was me like asserting a boundary and being like, no, I need to put myself first. If I go to this party, I'm going to come back, I'm going to feel drained, I'm going to feel like guilty for not doing my assignment, I'm going to have all this work that I need to get on top of, I'm going to feel like shit. And I recognized that in that moment, and I was like, I need to put myself first, do my assignment, get this shit done, and another party will come. Like, it's not the end of the world. So I feel like I can see how it can come across as inconsiderate sometimes to some people, but I think that also if a relationship is like strong and built on like mutual like trust and understanding, then the other person should be able to recognize that, like, okay, you need to meet your needs, like that's okay, like you do you. And just giving the other person like the space to do so is really important, I think. So I think that if you're like have a friendship or a relationship or something, and you feel like you need to put yourself first, and you feel like you're worried about how the other person might like perceive you for doing so, and might think that, oh, she's being inconsiderate, being rude, whatever, just like communicating that and being like, it's not you, it's like, I just need to show up for myself in this moment, and it's in no way a reflection of you or your worth or anything like that. It's like all me and something that I need to do for myself. So yeah, that is my mind on prioritizing your peace, prioritizing yourself, putting yourself first, and trying to move away from this place of like guilt that we sometimes can feel for doing so. It's also just important to remember that everything in life moves in like seasons and cycles, and maybe you're in a phase now where it's necessary for you to have a period of like aloneness and a period of solitude to understand yourself and put your needs first. Maybe you're not feeling like as connected, or maybe your energy is just being focused more inwards rather than outwards. And just remember that that's not your forever, and it's like, this is just like a season that you're going through, and when you come out of this space of like solitude, healing, whatever, you're going to be in a place to give more. And I think that is a really beautiful thing, because I think I can remember definitely having moments of real like loneliness last year, I think, where I felt like I wanted to make connections, but I felt like I wasn't in the place to do so. And so that's why I was like doing a lot of things in solitude, and definitely has helped me build like really strong foundations for myself, I think. And I'm really grateful for that chapter of my life. And I feel like now I'm in like a really good grounded place where I can like foster connections so much more wholeheartedly than I would have been able to in the past. So I definitely think that just like understanding that, yeah, it's all about like seasons and cycles, and we grow throughout it all. Yeah, those are my thoughts basically, but I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.